Hello, Ivy here with the second part of my thoughts following the Oprah interview. I've calmed down now and hopefully you will find this of interest. First of all, just a quick summary of part one of the podcast. I looked at life in the British royal family, the treatment of women in the royal family, the treatment of Harry in the royal family, the coordinated attacks on Meghan, the Sussexes' wedding day, the plot to destroy the marriage, Tyler Perry and how he stepped up where the British royal family would not. I went through a few stages of abusive behaviour and then I just touched upon the Oprah interview. The main points to emerge from the Oprah interview, my opinion, are as follows. Suicidal thoughts. Human resources response to mental health issues. Human resources relationships with UK tabloid royal reporters. The British royal family and courtiers' relationship with UK tabloid royal reporters. No evidence of a policy and or strategy relating to health of the workforce. Equality of access to HR services appears to be selective in terms of eligibility. No evidence of prevention strategy or support process if HR is approached. Meghan was expected to work for her keep. No knowledge of anyone else marrying into the royal family who is not considered part of the royal family and who was suggested that she could return to acting. Acting where? Was this a subtle way to get Meghan to return to Canada? Was the British royal family trying to be clever by having the couple on different continents? Spend increasing amounts of time apart? Apparently, the Queen did not have sufficient funds to pay for Meghan. How much of the sovereign grant was paid out to the other working royals between May 2018 and March 2020? How much of the sovereign grant was paid out to non-working royals in the same period? How much money was paid out in respect of the second in line and his wife, a woman who has never worked in her life, unlike Meghan, who arrived in the family as a millionaire and the owner of property and haute couture garments? Any expenditure on Meghan in comparison to Kate would be minimal. Meghan was the only member of the British royal family who was given patronage on behalf of the Queen, like all the other designated working royals, but who was meant to pay all her expenses herself, and preferably doing so from another country. Frogmore Cottage was former servants' accommodation, the smallest property given to a royal family member. Yes, I say given, as it was supposedly a gift from the Queen. Yet, throughout the stay in that dwelling, it was used as one of the sticks to beat the Sussexes with, relating to use of taxpayer funds spent on it. Remember, it was the smallest of all the residents of all the other family members. Lack of any evidence of preventative processes within the workplace relating to suicide. Historically, any member of any UK monarchy, if not seen as perfect, were hidden from view. Any illness was not spoken about. Any activity deemed okay by royals, but possibly frowned upon by society, also seems to be an unspoken secret in royal circles. Lack of any evidence of supportive processes within the workplace relating to mental health issues. Meghan sought assistance from a friend of Lady Diana, as no help was offered to Meghan from HR, under the guise of she was not deemed an employee of the British royal family, and also importantly to HR, it would not be good for the British royal family image if a member of the family was in need of mental health services. Let's not forget that the family claimed to be advocates for many causes, including mental health. Clearly, it is not even performative, just words on paper, a handy slogan or two every year or so, and the job's done, so to speak. There are links between suicide and the workplace. Employers and the law relating to safe working places. If not an employee, what are you in the British royal family? If not an employee, why are taxpayers funding so many? If all British royal family members are considered employees, why isn't Meghan? Let's look at the area of employee or not, etc. Things I'll discuss as we go through this. Differences between a worker, an employee, or self-employment, or just a family member. Harry said he felt let down by Prince Charles. There is a lot of hurt that's happened. No mention of feeling the same about Prince William. Questions were asked about the likely shade of Archie's skin tone before the baby was even born. Questions asked of Harry by nameless senior royal on more than one occasion during Sussex's first pregnancy. Meghan did not reveal who said it to Harry because it would be very damaging to them. Harry said, "I am never going to share. I was a bit shocked." Harry said, "I felt really let down because he has been through something similar. He knows what pain feels like, and Archie is his grandson. At the same time, I will always love him, but there is a lot of hurt that has happened, and I will continue to make it one of my priorities to try and heal that relationship. They only know what they know, or what they have been told." Harry also said that his father stopped taking his calls when Harry and Meghan were in Canada. "Because I took matters into my own hands, I needed to do this for my family." The tale of how Meghan apparently made Kate cry, a story that emerged 6 months after the Sussex's wedding day, and a story which was in fact a lie. It was the other way around. But those high in the line of succession and their spouses are protected at all costs. Meghan thrown to the UK media wolves and was torn apart daily for this story, which was not true. But no one from the palace ever came out and admitted that, including Kate herself. The first time the public got to hear about this state of affairs was during the Oprah interview. It was lovely to see and to hear Harry talk about the prospect of the birth of a daughter. His words, "It's a girl. It's amazing to be having a daughter." We're all looking forward to it as well, Harry. Harry also said, a quote from him about William to Tom Bradbury, "I love William to bits. He is my brother. We have been through hell together. We have a shared experience, but we are on different paths." Harry talking about William now in that interview, "The relationship is space at the moment. Time heals most things, hopefully." Both Meghan and Harry praised the Queen. Meghan spoke about how the Queen gave her a beautiful set of pearl earrings and a matching necklace for their first engagement together. Harry also denied blindsiding the Queen about stepping back. Harry believes that report, came from within the institution. Let's look at some of the evidence, using that phrase from a very old UK TV programme, but hopefully most of you will still get what I mean. The tabloids announced, i.e. passed on the message from the palace, that the Queen was likely to lose around £35 million shortfall due to COVID-19. This was published in all of the tabloids in the autumn of 2020. The law states that the Queen's income cannot go down even when the Crown Estate's profits drop. An important point, which you'll see in a few minutes. On the 25th of September 2020, it was announced that the Queen would receive her usual $110 million from the sovereign grant, which amounts to around £86.3 million. Strangely, that means in the period from 2018, when Harry and Meghan got married, and up until March 2020, when the Sussexes stepped back, no less than $110 million was available to the Queen. Yet it was stated that they could not afford to fund her, and that maybe she should return to acting. The Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, receives £359,000 per year from a Treasury annuity. It is stated in my reference material that other members of the royal family did not state who'd received what funding from Parliament in the form of an annuity, but other members have received help. Strange how this never occurred to the Queen if she was so short of funds to pay Meghan, yet her husband received an annual sum for years and still does, and so do other members of the royal family, but no such offer was suggested or made for Meghan. It seems that resources are available for some people, whether or not they are classed as employees, self-employed, workers, or whatever term they can pull out of the magic hat. I would suggest, with my non-legal mind, if the UK government have systems in place to pay annuities for other members of the royal family year on year, there is no reason whatsoever why Meghan could not have received the very same as a senior working royal at the time. Under the sovereign grant of 2011, the system of funding the royal households by a mixture of civil list payments and grants and aids was replaced. From April 2012, a single annual sovereign grant has been paid by the Treasury. The level of funding for the royal household is now linked to the government's revenue from the Crown Estate. It's important to note here that only 5% of Harry and Meghan's costs come from the sovereign grant. So despite all the nonsense in UK press for 4 years, their costs are minimal from that particular cup. The Duchy of Cornwall is an entity to produce and create income for the monarch's eldest son. So in this case, it currently is managed by Prince Charles and will be handed over to Prince William when Prince Charles becomes king. It's important to note that 95% of the Sussexes' expenses come from this particular financial cup. Can you imagine if Harry and Meghan had remained in the clutches of the British royal family? This financial account would be managed by Prince William, upon Charles becoming king. Just think if most of your income depended on your jealous and insecure brother. Parliamentary annuities, the pot of money that pays for the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, also funded Princess Margaret, and also paid allowances for the Queen's younger children, i.e. Princess Anne, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward. In 2002, the source of funding for all of the Queen's children and cousins was changed and removed from parliamentary annuities to be funded from the Duchy of Lancaster. The Duchy of Lancaster is the private estate of the sovereign, Queen Elizabeth, and is held in perpetual trust for all future sovereigns. The duchy consists of landholdings and other assets. This will be passed on to Charles when he becomes king. The Crown is legally exempt from paying taxes. The Queen and Prince Charles have a voluntary arrangement of paying tax. The reason I mention all these funding pots is just to reiterate that Harry was informed by whoever that Meghan should probably return to acting, as there was no money to pay for her within the royal accounts. Really? Something else I'd like to mention here is that when the Queen or whoever stated lack of funds, and also when the tabloids felt the need to talk about how much money the Queen was losing due to COVID, etc., and needed a government handout, yes, another one, to help with running costs and staffing, etc., my research discovered that the amount of any increase to the sovereign grant year on year is based on income over the previous 2 years. So citing COVID as a reason for financial hardship was inaccurate. The effect of that does not impact the British royal family coffers yet. Zero credibility when refusing or complaining about finding funds for Meghan. The fact that the monarch did not have an increase in the sovereign grant last year is neither here nor there, as the sovereign grant itself never reduces. So the Queen will not be severely affected for 2 years anyway, and then she can claim that with 2 years of not receiving an increase, she will be entitled to one after 2 years. Remember, this from a family that pay no taxes apart from voluntary contributions, and that they have had no real reduction in their income, unlike most of the population of the UK. The Sussexes' wedding brought in billions in revenue, and yet Meghan received not even basic care in her time of need. And the family are intent on changing legislation so that Archie does not automatically receive a title when Prince Charles becomes king. So Archie will therefore never be afforded security. With family like that, who needs enemies? Now Harry and Meghan have income to buy a home, do their humanitarian work, and pay for their own security. The bottom line here is that Charles removed their security in the first quarter of 2020, when they had not officially stepped back yet, and the British royal family revealed their location in Canada, and then again in Los Angeles. Like I said, no worse enemy than betrayal by family members, and to go as far as to refuse the monarch's grandchildren from receiving a title, and then giving them the option to refuse it if they so wish when they turn 18 years of age, is beyond cruel. It's just wrong. Finances found for family members, including cousins from various pots of public funding, and yet we had to endure 2 years of moaning about Frogmore Cottage and anything else that Sussexes did or did not do on any given day. The sovereign grant represented 5% of Harry and Meghan's costs. The mistake was believing that Harry's own father would try to play fast and loose with his reasons for not ensuring the safety of his youngest son. The son who brought in the most revenue and goodwill for the royal family than anyone else. Karma will deal with all of them that wished harm to this couple. The Queen's private wealth and income is not publicly known. When I refer to the CIPD, it is the professional body for human resources and people development in the UK. All employers have a duty of care, which is an obligation to protect their employees. A term is implied into all employment contracts requiring employers to take care of their employees' health and safety. For example, employers must provide a safe place to work. A fundamental duty of care for the physical and mental health and well-being of workers is part of that contract. All CIPD members must commit to upholding and maintaining the standards and behaviours and obligations set out in the Code of Professional Conduct document. The standards apply equally to all CIPD members, regardless of their level of membership. These obligations are grouped together under 4 principles: professional competence and behaviour, ethical standards and integrity, representative of the profession, and stewardship. A complaint can only be raised if the HR person or people are members of the CIPD. No idea if the Royal HR are registered or just following the tradition of performative action and cosplay. The world now knows that health and safety and well-being of people within the structure of the Crown Estate is not as important as protecting or hiding real suffering and harm to certain people. Further key points from the Oprah interview. Meghan had suicidal thoughts. Harry feels let down by Charles. Questions were asked about the likely colour of Archie's skin when he was born. Kate made Meghan cry, and not the other way around, as reported. Monarchy wanted Meghan to continue working as an actress because of lack of funds. Harry said he felt trapped within the system, just like the rest of his family are. My father and brother are trapped. They don't get to leave. On the subject of removal of security, Harry said, I never thought I would have security removed upon deciding to step back from royal duties. I was born into the position. I inherited the risk. So that was a shock to me. In terms of cutting off finance, literally cut me off financially in the first quarter of 2020, said Harry. We went for the Netflix and Spotify deals to pay for our security. Without the money that Princess Diana left him, we would not have been able to do this. Meghan and Harry wanted Archie to be a prince so that he would have security automatically and he would be protected. Meghan was shocked at the idea that Archie would not be safe. And as the first member of colour in that family, not being titled in the same way as other grandchildren of a monarch. Just a reminder, under current rules, Archie is not entitled to be an HRH or a prince until Charles becomes king, under rules set out more than 100 years ago by King George. There was a suggestion that the rule may be changed to ensure that Archie still would not be HRH when Charles becomes king. My final observations of the treatment of Meghan and Harry is this. Meghan was told that she was not a member of staff and therefore could not be helped. By definition, then, neither is any member of the royal family. If you are not an employee, a worker, or self-employed on royal contracts, what are you then? If you have no designation, why can't you have independent thought? Why can't you shine brighter than the one who was born first? Those born into this cluster of people had no say when they came into the world, or whose womb they vacated. Why is it deemed a duty to stay there and told what to do and when? Why should the fact that you live in an opulent setting make abuse acceptable? Why is all personal identity stripped away from members of that cluster, but yet your images are shown and known about all over the world? Your attire and your home is of a quality that very few can afford, but why can't you choose to live and work elsewhere? If you are not regarded as a workforce, why do you still have to bow and curtsy to your gran when you go for tea and cakes? What are you then? How can you be born into a group and a whole country pay for you to stay there, whether you like it or not? Why can you not decide what you do with your life? I call that slavery. Slaves had no say in what they did or when. Slaves were dressed how the landowner saw fit. If they wanted special services from you, like Thomas Jefferson did, you dressed slightly better, but you were still not free. Those who vote for you to stay in that setting, or like other landowners, when in reality they are not, but they seem to like living in a fantasy that has an emblem family as some kind of mascot that tells the world the UK is a successful country. They are mistaken. Most people turn their eyes away from the abuse done to children in society, especially when it involves people of status, such as politicians, the clergy, children's home personnel, and yes, even royals. Abuse takes many forms, and what has been done to royal children over decades is no less abusive. It matters not about their wealthy living conditions. The treatment of the Sussexes has been and continues to be abusive. It matters not about their wealth. The treatment of Princess Diana was abusive. It matters not how wealthy she was. Having what, to all intent and purposes, a slave plantation behind palace gates, and a dereliction of care and duty towards the victims inside, is a failure on the society outside of those gates. As an example, another example from a different country, but the same things apply. 3 years ago, after 30 years of reports of child abuse in USA gymnastics, one child abuser was sent to prison for life. 30 years later. 30 years from the first child who reported abuse, when they were old enough to recognise that what had been done to them from a very young age was abusive. Official complaints documented from between 2011 to 2016, all of which just resulted in performative actions by the authorities. When I say authorities, I mean the officials within the USA gymnastic movement. But the abusers stayed in place, doing what they have been doing for years, one of whom had a 30-year history. How many more decades does the UK intend to sit back and close their minds to the various forms of abuse going on behind palace walls? Harassment and bullying is abusive. Gaslighting is abusive. Writing over 100 articles of hate inciting bile in the first 7 hours of one working day by UK tabloids this year is abusive. Taking away security from a family where one member was born into the family with inherent risk is abusive and dangerous and deliberately done to cause harm, physical or mentally. The aim to get the slaves to return to abuse in an opulent setting. Enough is enough. Today, there is an article on a 7-year-old child from within that royal structure debating the lack of freedom upon marriage. Are there no boundaries that UK press will not cross, all in the name of clickbait for income? Those damaged children grow up to be damaged adults, and if they have the misfortune to be the firstborn in that family, they become damaged monarchs. If you are a sibling of that future monarch, then you will be a damaged foot soldier for the sibling and the wider royal family. Assuming you survive that long, as there is clearly no sort of genuine human resource personnel on hand to help you or to be confidential in their help if given. Abuse takes many forms. People need to stop hiding behind labels of the behaviour of certain groups, whether that be a family who live in palaces or their propaganda team in the media. It is time for a concerted effort to stop this practice now. The fact that this is all being done on taxpayer funds makes it even worse for this country. The UK is providing the means for this abuse to continue. Enough is enough.